All right, what's going on? It's Bobby Skinner talking Giants. Giants lost. They lost. They lost to the Dallas Cowboys 21-15. They lost in primetime. They lost to the Dallas Cowboys. Something that has been, the definition of Giants football over the last, 7, 8 years, basically. Very, very frustrating that the Giants fall to 1-3 in a game where, they very much could have won this game and they're not able to pull it out. The offense will be the talking point of this game because the defense actually, they did their job. You hold the Cowboys at 21 points. I actually think you did your job pretty well. Actually, it was 20-15, maybe. Let's talk about Daniel Jones and then the wide receiver drops, right? Like, if they just, didn't drop the ball, the Giants would have won this game. Well, one, that's not true. Right, that you can't say that's true when the Giants could not get the ball in the end zone when they had opportunities to do it. Right, so even if they convert those third downs, there's no guarantee that the Giants end up winning that game anyway. Right, we're not talking about the Darius Slayton drop versus the Commanders in 2021 type of drops. Like they're very circumstantial. You're having to project that the Giants end up scoring a touchdown. This is what's frustrating about the Giants offense. In 2022. They ran this, no turnover, low average depth of target, keep the ball on time, on schedule, keep the offense on schedule offense. Their running game was good. And it made sense, right? Again, their running game was good. They had only one deep threat, and that was Darius Slayton. Their offensive line was suspect. In 2024, that's just not the case, right? The offensive line protects really damn good. Well, they have three explosive threats, and Malik Neighbors, Jalen Hyde and Darius Slayton, and they just cannot hit a deep pass. Right? The Giants have hit on two deep passes all year. Two deep passes. One was the first drive of the game on the hitch and go to Malik Neighbors where he's wide open, and then one was last week on the ball that Malik Neighbors ripped out of the hands of the cornerback. They just cannot create an explosive offense, which means that you have to be perfect, right? You have to play mistake-free football to win that way, and you have to rely on a bunch of yak, and the Giants just aren't really set up to do it. The yak part they are, but you can't play perfect football, right? You can't have a game where it's like, if we only didn't have these two drops, our offense would have had more than 15 points. No, the expectation has to be higher than that, right? You can look at box score stats, but they have to hit on deep passes, and they can't. Daniel Jones is inaccurate on deep passes. He wasn't throughout his career, right? Even if he didn't throw the ball a lot, he wasn't inaccurate. He is now, right? I don't know what you blame on that with, but he is now. In year 6, he is now an inaccurate deep passer. I think he's 2 for 16 on the year. Like, you just can't live with that, right? And you talk about, they converted passes. I want to look at this stat. I went and looked at this and charted this. Wan'Dale Robinson caught 8 passes for 50 yards on 9 targets on third down. That's good, right? That's good. 8 catches on 9 targets on third down? That's when you need to catch those passes, right? So he has that high catch rate. They only converted 2 of the 9 of those third downs. 2 of 9. He caught 8 of them, but they only converted 2. And by the way, both conversions, those passes were caught 4 yards, behind the first down marker, and you had to live off of yak. So every single Wan'Dale third down target was behind the first down marker, right? They just did not throw it past the sticks on third down for the majority of the game. Had to live off of yak, and they weren't able to do that a lot of times, And then so if you can't create explosives and you're throwing the ball short of the sticks on third down, like that's just a hard way to play offense. And let's not forget the fact that the running game was pathetic, right? You can't have a running game. The Cowboys' run defense was supposed to be the advantage. Supposed to be the advantage, and you run the ball 24 times for 26 yards, 1.1 yards per carry. I mean, it's just awful. A team that was bottom 3 in the NFL in rushing defense. I need to rewatch and see exactly what went wrong. They definitely ran into a lot of stacked boxes, but I felt like they were just trying to run zone, and they're just not a zone running team. So they just can't. You cannot play offense like this and expect sustained success in the NFL. Now Malik Neighbors left with a concussion. He had 12 catches, 115 yards on 15 targets. I mean, it's easy to see he's a star. I think anybody with 2 eyes or maybe even 1 eye knows that Malik Neighbors is a star. It's just normal at this point with him. It's fun to watch, but when you're a star in a losing effort, it sucks. He did get concussed on that play on the sideline, which, hey, credit to DJ. That was a good throw. So the point of what I want to say with this offense is not that DJ played some horrible game. He didn't. He did not. He played a solid NFL game, right? And I think that's been what he has done over the last 3 weeks outside of week 1 this year, right? So the good news for Daniel Jones is that he is not like last year where he was gun shy, where the offensive line was awful, and through camp and preseason that first game where it's like, oh, this guy might just be completely broken. That's the good news, is he can be what he was 2 years ago in 2022. The bad news is that we thought, we hoped that the reason they played that way in 2022 was because of the lack of weapons and the lack of offensive line. Well, guess what? They've got it now and they can't do it. So, and I know, this is most likely Daniel Jones' last year. If it's not, it's because the Giants just aren't in a situation to get another QB. So I'm glad with that. But the reality is that they're not going to be a good offense with him as their quarterback. That's just the reality of it, unfortunately. They'll have good moments this year. All right, they'll have some 30-plus point games. DJ will play some really good football games. He'll hit on a couple deep shots. But just long-term, it's not it. With Brian Dable in this game, deciding to go for a field goal to make it 17-15 with 11 minutes left, I actually won't say that in itself is a bad decision, right? Because it's like this offense, can't, like, it's hard. They're not guaranteed to score that touchdown. So I won't even say that's a bad decision in itself to do that, to make the game 17-15. Justin's tweeting me or texting me. What I will say is, if you knew you were going to kick the field goal on 4th down, why would you run the ball on, 2nd and goal from the 10-yard line on 2nd down, and then motion Wandale, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage on 3rd down and throw the ball to him? Why wouldn't you try and get a couple throws into the end zone, or at least have those options if that's what you were going to do? That's what I don't agree with. On the defensive side, Deonte Banks is just not a cornerback one. That's the reality. It's tough, right? Hey, it's a tough ask to cover Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb. But that's cornerback 1 in the NFL, right? So, hey, it's a tough. Not a lot of guys are it. He's not it. Not yet, right? I think he can develop into that. I think he's not. I don't think he's a bust, right? But I don't think he's a cornerback 1 right now. Actually, I don't think. He's not a cornerback 1 right now. Now, he will be on this roster because they don't have anything else outside of him, especially with some of their injuries. But that's the reality. What I don't like is go back and rewatch the CeeDee Lamb touchdown and watch who starts jogging when CeeDee Lamb's at about the 25-yard line. Deonte Banks. Other defensive notes. We'll go quick. This is a reaction minute. I don't want it to be too long. Kayvon had a solid game. He had a sack. Pressures and drew up some holding penalties from Tyler Guyton. But we need Brian Burns to do more than what he is now, right? Like, he had a good game versus the Browns, but the Browns' offensive line was beat up, awful. They had guards at tackle. They had DeJuan Jones, playing for them, who's an awful tackle. But this is the thing. This is what Brian Burns has been his whole career, right? Brian Burns isn't the one who decided that he needed to get paid $30+ million and trade for him, right? So I think Giants fans are going to grow to be frustrated with Brian Burns. There's going to be good moments. He's a good player, but he's not the dominant player that some made him out to be when the Giants traded for him. And the run defense was really good. Like, the defense, you go back and maybe there'll be some things you want back, and obviously not happy with Deonte Banks, but I was ready for this defense to kind of turn back into a pumpkin, and because the Browns offense is just awful, right? I think it's the worst in the NFL now that Bryce Young's not starting and everyone was praising them. I like what they did, but I thought the Cowboys would tear up this defense. So I do give the defense credit, but overall this game sucked. Like and subscribe. I have a pod out in the morning. Let's go Big Blue.